What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to Sportskeeda MMA News. Jared Cannonier uses a Doctor Strange comparison for him and Adesanya. Adesanya spots the biggest pretender in the UFC. Dana White confirms that Nate Diaz accepted a fight against a top contender. Jorge Masvidal addresses rumors of rematch between Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. Gina Carano tells Joe Rogan she was instantly disrespected by Dana White. Find out on today's edition of Sportskeeda MMA News. This is it. This is the point where Marvel fans and UFC fans intersect. Adesanya is prolific with anime, movie, and meme references, and his next opponent, Jared Cannonier, is showing that he is cinema savvy too. Title hopeful and overall terrifying presence in the middleweight division, Cannonier has earned the ever-so-elusive title shot at the expense of Derek Brunson last February. When talking to Yahoo Sports, the Killer Gorilla went in-depth about how he fares against Stylebender.
I've learned over time, this is a thing, an agile I came up with myself, that footwork controls time and space as far as combat sports goes. So, dudes like Doctor Strange up in there with his footwork.
Yeah.
But, if he's Doctor Strange, I'm Baron Mordo.
Baron Mordo is the arch nemesis to Doctor Strange, so with that as context, you can imagine that Cannonier is pretty confident going into this middleweight title fight. They say that real recognize real, but can Adesanya sift out the fakes? Adesanya is as transparent as champions come. He wears his heart on his sleeve, he stays true to himself, and he's a very honest person. These are some of the reasons why fans love him, others being rad tattoos, cool dance moves, and he can fight pretty well. When talking to KO Sports for an episode of Gloves Off, Stylebender was asked who he thought was the biggest pretender in the UFC, to which he responded,
I want to say Marvin Vettori. He's a tough guy, tough fighter, but it's a lot of fugazi. The guy brings, eh? I'll say he's the biggest pretender I've faced in the UFC. But there's a few more, not just fighters, that I can call out.
The champ is up 2-0 when locking horns with Vettori. Though both of the fights were competitive and went to the judges, Adesanya's style is just a step or two ahead, making him a nightmare matchup for the Italian Dream. Marvin denies losing either of these fights, and perhaps this is the reason that Adesanya views Vettori as fake. Who do you think is the biggest pretender in the UFC? Let us know down below. When discussing rarities, people often think of diamonds or white rhinos, but Nate Diaz fight news is quickly making its way up the ranks. Diaz has been searching for a fight for months now as he looks to get the last bout on his contract over with and move on to different things. When there was a matchmaking board leak, it did look like Diaz and Khamzat Chimaev were set to fight, but here we are, still without a Diaz scrap to look forward to. Dana White phoned into the Jim Rome show and answered some questions regarding Nate.
To be honest with you, right here off the top of my head, this thing has played out back and forth so many different ways. Yes, we tried to make that fight. He wanted the fight and he didn't want the fight, but Nate Diaz did accept the fight with him.
So why didn't this fight ultimately go down?
Who knows?
Stockton's own and Chimaev are two of the biggest celebrities in the sport right now, so this fight would be a huge one. However, the two are at very different points in their career right now. Diaz wants out of the UFC while Khamzat wants to be at the top of the organization. Maybe this is the fight, maybe it's not, but one thing is certain, and it's that the fans will tune in to see either one of them during their next bout. Is Chimaev and Diaz the fight to make? If not, then who should they be matched with? Here's a hypothetical situation for you. You buy a lottery ticket and guess what? You lost. But you then ironically find $100 on the ground. Do you use that money to buy a tenth of a half of a tank of gas? Or do you use it to buy Mayweather versus McGregor 2? Well, Jorge Masvidal thinks that the gas stations would be busy on the day of this potential rematch. Gamebred sat down and spoke to MMA Fighting. He's been campaigning for a bout against McGregor for some time now, but if it's ever made sense, it's now. However, the Notorious has options and for the most part runs the show. He can fight whoever he wants whenever he wants, and Floyd Mayweather may be next for him. Masvidal weighed in on this, being the Irishman's next bout.
Are people going to want to see Floyd and Conor again? Are people going to shell out $85 to see that? Especially now with inflation and all the crazy going on in the country. I think they would rather save it for the gas pump.
McGregor is a favourable fight for Masvidal, seeing as how he won't come with a wrestle-heavy approach, and it's also advantageous because McGregor is the biggest payday for any fighter. But while Masvidal chases the money, McGregor can too by taking the Mayweather rematch. Which side will you be on in this potential fight? Remember when we were all clamoring to see Ronda Rousey take on Gina Carano? Well, Dana White might have been clamoring the loudest and a bit too much. While the UFC president may have been the only person to set this match up, the MMA community was hoisted up by its own petard when Dana White became the reason the bout never happened. Gina Carano was recently on the Joe Rogan Experience and the Ronda Rousey topic happened to come up. Why? Well, it's interesting, but also Ronda Rousey recently mentioned that the only fight she'd come out of retirement for is Gina Carano. So Joe wanted to hear what Gina herself had to say about their history. Essentially, Dana White tried to book this fight and Gina agreed, however she had a stipulation. Just try to keep the fight on the down low for a bit. And Dana did just that. Kidding. He told the whole world and made it very hard for Carano to get settled in a gym. That wasn't the only strike either. Gina mentioned this to Joe.
He said something pretty aggressive over text messages. I'm sure you know he does that. And I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to do that. Like, it was very simple for me. Like, that was going to be something for me. And I was excited to be back in that world, and I was excited to do something like that. I respect Ronda, and I thought that was exciting. But after, like, you just can't, like, go back into that world and feel instantly disrespected on so many levels.
Gina then did what Gina does and took another movie offer instead, and we can't blame her. But wait, there's some silver lining here. Carano also mentioned that she isn't opposed to taking the Ronda fight now. Rogan inquired about this and asked if she would do it, to which Carano responded,
I mean, I still can't even say that I wouldn't.
Hit that subscribe button with crossed fingers and let's hope that Carano and Rousey return to fight each other. If that doesn't work, you can subscribe to our other social media pages too. That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA news. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and follow us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Snapchat. Until next time. Also, make sure to drop a comment and potentially be featured in a future video. Here are some comments from previous videos. Yes, he's scared. McGregor must be laid to rest, cause now he'll only be a shadow of the man he was. If you like this video, please like, comment and share. Your comments could be featured in the next Sportskeeda MMA news video. We always deliver daily content, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything going on in the MMA world. For updates, quotes and exclusive interviews from all your favorite fighters, follow Sportskeeda MMA on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for tuning in.